What are the aspects of your life that you spend the most time enjoying or reflecting on? This next title covers a collection of moving and insightful essays, each rating different ideas and experiences on a 5-star scale. Welcome to Audiobook Reviews in 5. This is Yana, also known as Jana, and in today's episode, I'm reviewing the Anthropocene Reviewed, Essays on a Human-Centered Planet, written and read by John Green. The Anthropocene Reviewed started out as a podcast where best-selling author John Green tried to make sense of some of the contradictions of human life. How we can be so compassionate and so cruel. So persistent and yet so quick to despair. Green says that above all, he wanted to understand the contradiction of human power, how we are too powerful in our ability to shape the climate and biodiversity, for example, and yet not powerful enough to save those we love from suffering. The Anthropocene has become a popular term for our current geologic age, and Green uses this as a poignant framing device for his personal essays that attempt to make sense of his own life in context of our moment in history. It's worth noting here, I've never read John Green before. He's famous for titles like The Fault in Our Stars and Turtles All the Way Down, but this title caught my attention because it was nonfiction and sounded clever and therefore entertaining. Goodreads reviews reassured me that this wasn't merely a series of podcast transcripts, and I'm glad I took the plunge because overall, this is a delightful listen. This title is promoted in the social science section of Audible, but I think it's more accurate to describe it as a memoir. Although Green seems to focus on a series of unrelated topics, the glue that holds it all together is his personal perspective. Each topic offers an opportunity to recount a personal experience that makes Green relatable, whether it's through sharing his personal experience with mental illness or his frustration and fascination with Canada geese. There's something here for every listener or reader to enjoy and relate to. I, for one, will hold my head high as a fan of Diet Dr. Pepper, now that I know I'm in good company. Some essays were slightly disappointing for me, too. I thought the essay called The Mountain Goats would be about actual mountain goats, but it was about an indie band that held significantly less interest for me. This reminded me of the time I declined to watch the movie Manchester by the Sea when I found out it took place in Massachusetts and not Manchester, England. Anyway, Green still won me over with earnest reflection and musings for nostalgic delights, such as scratch and sniff stickers. Whimsical forays into the history of Piggly Wiggly and the Indianapolis 500 are sandwiched between more abstract and grand musings about things like humanity's temporal range, our capacity for wonder, and the charms of whispering. Green's writing is beautiful because he brings clarity and meaning to big emotions and ideas that seem common to so many of us. I found myself frequently pausing the audio and re-listening to parts of his audiobook that resonated with me. Here's one of my favorite passages. We've caused a lot of suffering, but we've also caused much else. I know the world will survive us, and in some ways it will be more alive. More birdsong, more creatures roaming around, more plants cracking through our pavement, rewilding the planet we terraformed. I imagine coyotes sleeping in the ruins of the homes we built. I imagine our plastic still washing up on beaches hundreds of years after the last of us is gone. I imagine moths having no artificial light toward which to fly, turning back to the moon. There is some comfort for me in knowing that life will go on, even when we don't. But I would argue that when our light goes out, it will be the Earth's greatest tragedy, because while I know that humans are prone to grandiosity, I also think that we are by far the most interesting thing that has ever happened on Earth. It's easy to forget how wondrous humans are, how strange and lovely. through photography and art. Each of us has seen things we'll never see. The surface of Mars, the bioluminescent fish of the deep ocean, a 17th century girl with a pearl earring. Through empathy, we felt things we might never have otherwise felt. Through the rich world of imagination, we've seen apocalypses large and small. We're the only part of the known universe that knows it's in a universe. The reason I love that passage so much is that it's a beautiful example of Green's knack for using concrete images and fine details. It's charming because he applies it equally to the mundane and the sublime. Just when you start to feel he's verging on overwrought analysis or sentimentality, he'll recount a brief history of the Nathan's famous hot dog eating contest or Apple's Notes app. Green's narration is decent as well, but it sometimes has a halting quality that reminds me that he's reading versus speaking. So I felt it was more enjoyable listening to this on a speed of 1.2 on Audible. That said, this is an excellent audiobook for listening to in short bursts, since each review stands on its own. And after I finished this audiobook, I went back and re-listened to my favorite highlights. That's all for this episode of Audiobook Reviews in 5. Thanks for listening. If you have not yet done so, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to Audiobook Reviews in 5 on Anchor, Apple, Spotify, and many others. By subscribing, you help increase the profile of this podcast and chances of other listeners finding it. I look forward to checking in with you all again soon. Please stay safe and be well.